All right, so this is December 27th. This is 2 days after Christmas. I haven't had a workout since December 24th, and that's just because Christmas, it was a lot of family stuff going on. And then Sunday is a day where I generally try not to do too much. That's not like a rule I have, it's just like Sunday for me is a day of rest. And it's not super important for me to go 7 out of 7 days in the week where I work out. As long as I hit 5, I'm usually pretty happy. Um, and another thing that's just complicated about the holidays is that you're generally eating a lot of foods that are less than nutritious. So anyway, so I generally also avoid working out after I've had a few bad days in a row of eating. My goal is to eat well for 1 or 2 days in a row before I get back to the grind. So anyway, so here, I'm not going to put any weight on the bar, just due to the fact that I haven't been in here in a few days. My goal is just to get blood flowing and to still put in like the reps, basically. As I'm trying to keep my rep count um, consistent so that over time I can just progressively become better at the movement. This isn't making me any stronger, but it is making me more efficient, that my brain is able to strengthen the neurological connections. That I think is the most important part of strength training, is the neurological connection. I think, like I've already explained in past videos, that the process your body takes to become stronger is by first developing the neurological pathways. Second probably is like increasing bone density, and then improving the joint, ligament, tendon, all that stuff, all that motion, improving that. And then the last thing is increasing muscle mass. So results can come slowly, and they usually do come slowly, which is why it's important just to get reps in. And when you can, train heavy. But when you can't, just put in the reps. So anyway, doing front squat, and then I think I went over to a bent over row with a bar, just trying to get my hips and my back kind of warmed up. Because one thing too is that if you work out a few consecutive days, you generally don't really have to warm up that much. By the time the second or third day is coming around, you'll generally just be already warm, like the blood is just already there in your system. So anyway, so I'm gonna stop rambling. The point of this video, I wanted to talk about just a few of my thoughts about nutrition. So the way I see nutrition is that you are like a manager of a construction project, or either that or you're contracting a construction company to build you a building. But that building is your body. You're trying to get the best body possible. And the only way logically that would work is that your construction crew needs to be equipped, and they also need to be paid. Because we know that any person can apply themselves. They can exert energy and force and make a difference, right? But in order to get the best results, you need people that are trained, and those people that are trained usually have better equipment, and they're paid better. And the currency that your body requires in order to build a more complete body is food, and that food needs to be nutrient dense, and it needs to be in a good amount. Because if someone's not paid, they're not motivated to do a good job. And if they're not paid well, or no, sorry, if they're not giving good equipment and trained well, then the results, no matter how much they're paid, will not be up to your satisfaction. So that's the way I see eating food. I think it's a matter of discipline, that at some point you just have to get past the tasting good and feeling good part. I think that especially in American society, we have a huge emotional connection to our food, and that's very detrimental. I think the biggest culprit of that is all the sweet and salty foods that we eat. I think for whatever reason that salt and sugar, that they do a lot to mess up our system, and they reprogram our taste so that the only things we can taste are then salt and sugar. And if you eat anything else, a different spice, a different seasoning, for whatever reason it doesn't taste the same, or it doesn't even have that much taste to it. So we've been conditioned to only eat salt and sugar, and I think that's the biggest leading factor to a lot of health problems that we have. And so if you identify where your connections are, like what are the things that you're emotionally connected to when it comes to food, you can then build up the discipline to not eat those things or to reduce the amount of that food that you eat. For example, ice cream. Um, I, I would be um, willing to bet, I don't know how much money, but I would be willing to bet that a majority, if not 100% of all people that are obese, especially in America, eat their fair share of ice cream, or some other kind of dairy product or sugar product that that we know is not healthy, but they eat it in large amounts, or like I guess copious is the right word, copious amounts. What you have to realize, and this is what I realized with myself, is that growing up in America, there's a lot of foods that are considered normal to eat, but are actually really unhealthy for you. And growing up, so this is my diagnosis for myself, or I'm trying to think of big words to use. I always love using an expanded vocabulary, but basically, I grew up eating a lot of food and with very little control, and the result was that after a while, my body just put on mass. My body put on like obviously there's like fat, but there's also an increase of muscle and bone density in order to support the weight that my body was putting on. And so I was always bigger than most kids when I was growing up. And what ended up happening is I got into athletics and I started being more active. I lost a little bit of weight, but really, the result was that instead of losing a ton of weight, I actually just like kind of stayed the same but got more active. And I started eating less and I started working out more, and I saw some changes in my body. But what I think happened is that after, let's say, the age of 14 is when I started being more conscientious about my health and about my diet, and I stopped eating so much food. I think what happened is that I kind of reversed the pendulum. Instead of eating way too much of foods that were unhealthy, I started restricting myself on calories, and I got accustomed to eating far less than what I was supposed to be eating. But I also I wasn't eating so much of really healthy foods. I was just trying to lay off of unhealthy foods as best as I could. And so for the last 10 years or so, my body has pretty consistently maintained this level of body fat that I have right now. And the only explanation I have is that my body, and I'd say and also everyone's body, is an efficiency machine, and that your body is designed to take whatever it can get and turn it into something that will be capable of survival in the most extreme conditions. And so what happens is that if for some reason your food supply were to be cut, or your situation was to become very extreme and harsh and difficult to survive in, your body has already equipped you with everything you need to at least survive at the beginning, and then it's up to you to continue surviving. So that means that the body you have right now is the best version of yourself that your body can possibly produce, given the circumstances and the food and nutrition that you've been giving it. Just like I said, like a construction site, like you've given what you've given them is what your body has given back to you. And so the only logical conclusion for me is that if I've been going for several years now without maintaining a sufficient calorie maintenance level, if I'm not even like at maintenance most of the time, I'm usually eating less calories than I need to be eating, then the result is that my body is saving up that fat for storage. So like whatever extra calories my body can squeeze out and be most efficient at storing, it'll do it. And that's why my body fat has stayed consistently the same over so many years. So my theory up to this point is that if I eat at a surplus, or not at a surplus, just as much as I can eat, and these being nutrient dense foods, that at some point I'm gonna hit a threshold, or like hit a certain level of comfort where my body will be able to relinquish the fat that it's been saving, and it will be able to normalize. And at that point is when my fitness will really improve, and I'll be able to see a lot of results. And so I've been testing this theory over the course of like 6 months to maybe a year. I haven't really at first I just knew I had to eat more, and the theory kind of developed later on. I was like thinking about why this would be, that my body's telling me to eat more and more and more. And I think this is the conclusion I've come to, and I'll see how it goes. But what I can say is that the more that I've eaten over these last couple months, my body has actually improved its condition. And you would think that by eating so much, my body would become fatter. But really, what's happened is that my body has become stronger and my body has become more capable of athletic performance. And so I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. I'm going to keep pushing and looking for that threshold. And if at any point I realize that my body is just massively or rapidly gaining mass, then I'd be able to conclude that I was wrong in my assumption. But up to this point, I've actually proven myself correct, and my body's actually responded pretty well. So those are just some quick thoughts. I'll be back tomorrow probably with an actual workout. This was just like a kind of like a stay in the loop kind of thing. And I just wanted to share a few thoughts about nutrition. So that's it.